Hello everyone, TMMgamer, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you another video. Now today's video is something a little bit different in that it's going to be looking forward to what I want to see improved for FIFA 15, because FIFA 14 is a fun game, but there is no doubt that it has some incredibly frustrating moments, and this series is going to be an attempt to run you through some of the moments that I've experienced, explain why I think they're a problem for FIFA in the long run, and talk a little bit about what I want to see improved for the next game. So let's get straight on it. Now, this first clip I want to show you is just from a standard corner, and this is a really good example of just how brainless the defensive AI can be in FIFA sometimes. As you can see, the guy puts the corner in, nice and straightforward, and Fabrizio Colaccini just stands there. He literally just stands there and gives Samuel Eto'o a free header, and he scores from a corner very simply. And, lots of people have complained about FIFA that the crossing's overpowered, that heading's overpowered. And I have to say that it's definitely true that a huge amount of goals are scored from corners and for crosses. But the reason why so many goals are scored, in my opinion, is not because heading or crossing is overpowered, but because the defensive AI is absolutely brainless. And this is a really good example of this, because in a video I'm going to do next week building on this, I've got some examples from open play where the AI has a mad moment and just completely drops the ball, and as a result of that the striker gets a really easy chance. But you can argue in a very fluid football game, open play is a little bit difficult to predict, and every now and again things are going to be a little bit unpredictable, a little bit biased, a little bit one-sided, and silly things in inverted commas are going to happen, because it does happen in real life football. But a clip like this just goes to show how incredibly unintuitive the defensive AI can be at times, because this is just a straightforward corner. There's no trickery. He doesn't even put that much swerve on the ball. He just puts it to the back post, and my defender refuses to move. He doesn't move at all. He doesn't jump. The only thing he does is right before the ball's about to get to Samuel Eto'o, he turns to look at him to admire the header on target. And this is an incredibly frustrating goal to concede, because in this game I was winning 1-0, relatively comfortable, and then you concede a goal like this, and it's just so painful because there's nothing I could have done about it. I was hammering clear there. I was trying to move Colaccini around. You can see from the clip repeating, I switch to him immediately as soon as the ball gets put in. So I switch to the correct defender, but there's just no hope. In an example like this, if Colaccini had gone to try and win the ball and it got muscled off and Eto'o had headed it in, you go, meh, fair enough, Colaccini just lost the battle. But for him to not even attempt to do anything shows a real problem in FIFA, and you see this a lot of times, where just defenders refuse to follow your actions. And it creates artificial chances for your opponent. And this, I'm not saying this just happens to me. I benefit from this, of course. It's just a general thing in FIFA, and this is such a clear example, and why I wanted to lead off with this, because there's no denying this is existing, because it's right here. A relatively straightforward corner put in to the back post, and the defence just decides to do nothing about it. It's not that they can't do anything about it, it's that they actively choose not to. And this is a huge problem for me in this FIFA, because it happens far too often, and that's one of the reasons why so many goals are scored from crosses and corners, because the defensive AI just refuses to let you deal with them. And again, I mentioned, I switched to Colaccini as soon as that cross came in. It wasn't like I switched late and he was slow to react. He had plenty of time, but he just refused to do anything apart from turn to admire the goal. And this is a massive problem. I really want the defensive AI to get sharpened up at set pieces in the next FIFA, to stop goals like this happening. It's incredibly frustrating, and it removes something from the competition of the game. The next clip I want to talk about a little bit in this video is just a standard clip that you see in FIFA quite a lot of the time. My opponent's on the attack here, he's knocking the ball around, and it doesn't really come to anything, and I break the play up. Right here, I put the tackle in. Now, I try and launch a counter-attack here with quite a direct ball. I try and get the ball over the back of the centre-back's head to get it into a bit of space for my striker to run into. And I miss the ball up. I don't hit it with enough power, I get the line slightly wrong, and my opponent intercepts the pass and just knocks it back, pretty hopefully. into midfield. Now the problem is, look at all of my players. I have 5 players in midfield which have continued to run at the ball, and look here, my opponent's on a break, and still the player in the top right of the screen has only just started to turn around. And this is another example of just how slow the defensive AI is in FIFA. And my opponent scores the goal absolutely fantastically. That was a really, really good finish. You can't take anything away from that at all. However, my problem with this goal isn't that my opponent finished it well, because there's no doubt he took that goal very, very nicely. Good finish with Eden Hazard. It is the reaction of my players upon seeing Vincent Kompany win that header. Again, I put the tackle in here. I'm going to show you this in slow motion again so you can very, very clearly see this. I'm launching a break. My midfielders are moving up the field. I play the ball, and here we go. Watch all of my midfielders here. Vincent Kompany's about to win the header. He wins it. Now, let's wait. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strides, 6 strides. That guy at the top, 7, 8, 9 strides, 10. He's stood still now. He's still standing still, and now he walks towards the play. So that's basically 10 strides, or in game, that's about 3 or 4 seconds worth of them just staring at the ball, watching it go back and refusing to move, and it just gives my opponent so much space for his chance. And again, like I've mentioned, he takes it very, very nicely. That's not the issue. The issue is my defensive AI here is just so sluggish to react, and it's impossible to deal with something like this. You cannot physically micro 5 players back into position. This is something which I think is a very, very deliberate choice by EA to have this in the game. It creates artificial chances because there's no skill really required here in the build-up. I just played the long ball forward here, as you can see. Kompany wins the header, and because of the AI's refusal to change their running path, 5 of my players are immediately taken out. The only player who reacts to this in any meaningful way is Michael Carrick, the player that I'm controlling. The rest of the AI-controlled players who have wandered up the field just let it happen. They don't try and run back, they don't try and do anything. And again, my problem here is not that I conceded a goal. You're gonna concede goals in FIFA, and as you are in real life. My problem is the AI left me with no option to defend that goal. They just took it completely out of my hands. If my opponent was clinical, which he was, they were going to score there. And this is my real problem with FIFA here, and FIFA in general, that there are certain situations where this game just makes it so easy to score and so hard to defend because it just wanders 4 of your players out of position for no reason. And if your opponent can exploit that, then all of a sudden he's in a very favourable position and he can take the goal. If you watch something like that happen in real life with a long aimless header from a centre-back to clear the ball, the midfielders will try and scurry back into position, or someone will try and compete. They won't just aimlessly trot upfield watching the ball go. I mean, you saw there all the players, they turned and looked at the ball. They are aware of the ball's presence heading back, but they just don't react to it. It seems like the defensive AI in situations like this takes too long to figure out what it wants to do. It takes too long to figure out that, hang on, the attack's broken down, we need to get back into position, or Kompany's going to win that header, let's not continue running upfield for another 5 seconds and leaving all of his players in space. But it doesn't do that. And the sluggishness of the AI punishes me here again. So this again I think is a very, very clear example of one of the problems in FIFA. It needs to have this AI sharpened up, because too often goals are conceded because of the shoddy AI and not because you've made a mistake or because of some brilliant play on your opponent's behalf. The final clip I wanted to quickly show you before this part goes on too long is another example of what I mean with this sluggish transition in defensive AI. My opponent tries to put a little ball in, I intercept the ball and play it to Petr Cech, and because it's a minute to go before half time, I do what most sensible players would do and whack it upfield. Now, Cech doesn't really get much distance on the ball, but as you can see, look at my defence. They are just splitting apart here. He can see that the clearance isn't fantastic. So what do my centre-backs do? Nemanja Vidic walks towards one touchline and Fabrizio Colaccini walks to the other touchline. And that leaves Mario Balotelli in a huge amount of space. And, he finishes very, very nicely. And this is something which is very, very common. And I experience this a lot when I'm playing FIFA. We'll look at this again. As you can see, I've played the ball back. Czech's about to clear it. He shanks the clearance a little bit. It's not ideal, but just look at the centre-backs here. Colaccini starts running away from Balotelli. And again, Balotelli's in his field of vision here. He sees the opponent win the header, and he's still backing up. He's still backing up, still backing up. Now he turns. Now he turns. So, seeing the striker unmarked, he chooses to run away. Seeing the ball head towards the striker, he still chooses to run away. And, my opponent finishes very, very nicely. Again, good finish from my opponent. But this is very, very clear evidence, in my opinion, of just how sometimes the AI of your defenders conspires against you. And it doesn't matter. I couldn't have done anything there. I was relying on Czech to hit a better clearance. He didn't. And from that point on, there is nothing I can do. Because for no reason, Nemanja Vidic, 87 rated, and Colaccini, 81 rated, decide to run away from a striker. And it's just incredibly frustrating. Again, I don't mind conceding goals when my opponent does something brilliant. I don't mind conceding goals when I make an absolute howler of a mistake and I go, oh, that was awful, my opponent deserved to score there. What I do mind is goals like this, when for no reason the AI just decides to wander your centre-backs apart and leave a completely unmarked striker on the edge of the box. Or when you've tried to launch a counter-attack and the opponent heads it away, 5 of your midfielders decide to continue running up the pitch, even though they can clearly see Kompany's win the header. Or when your opponent has the corner and he puts the ball in, your centre-back decides just to stand there and watch him instead of trying to compete. If my midfielders had run back, if Colaccini had lost the header at the corner, and if Balotelli had muscled Vidic out the way and put it in, I wouldn't have minded, because then I would have gone, at least I tried, he just scored a good goal. In all of these examples, it's not my mistake or fantastic play by my opponent which results in the goal. It is underlying problems with the game's defensive AI. And in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to try and do a couple more of these videos, bringing some other examples to show you, other situations where the AI can take hold. But in this limited set so far, you can clearly see some of the problems here. And it is my possibly forlorn wish that by highlighting some of these mistakes I see, that EA will begin to rectify this for FIFA 15, because one of the things that makes FIFA 14 so frustrating at times is your seeming lack of control over events. You just get into a situation where you're going to concede, and you're going to concede not because of great play or a mistake, but because of the game wanting you to, it seems. So once again, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I'd really be interested in hearing what you have to say on this, because I've done a couple of examples here. Do you guys experience the same thing? Do you think it's just me overreacting, or do you actually think there is an inherent problem with certain facets of the AI that results in this? So once again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.